Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Echoes of Web3 podcast with Arcana Network. I'm Mayur, your host today. And today we're going to be talking more on the subject of Web3 gaming and what it takes for Web3 gaming to actually succeed in the Web3 space, attract users, and be able to really deliver on the promise that we've all been hoping for. And to help us with this, we have the founder and CEO of HyperPlay with us, Jacob. Hi, Jacob, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Fantastic. So, why don't we kick things off very light? Just try and figure out first and foremost, how did you get into the crypto space?
Yeah, so I was an early Bitcoiner, kind of attracted to it because of the political implications of early Bitcoin. I discovered it in the time of the early 2009, 2010 financial crisis that had unfolded. I didn't join quite that early, but I had really been attracted to it because of what I saw as implications for a better economic system. It was a vague fascination for me, and then in 2014, I read the Ethereum white paper and became pretty obsessed with it. And I worked in traditional tech, actually building real estate apps at the time, and was working on a real estate marketplace. And after reading about, when I was a kid, I grew up, I worked on a BitTorrent tracker, and the internet was weird, and it was supposed to be more decentralized. Then by the time I was an adult, the internet was like a monopoly controlled by 5 corporations. Then after reading the Ethereum white paper, it was so close to what I imagined that the internet was supposed to be that I was just obsessed, and I was completely disinterested in my main work. So I just I went really down the rabbit hole. I also, in my career, I'd also worked on a Kickstarter for a popular indie RPG. It was Aiden Chronicle. It actually just released about a month ago. So I had some background in both crypto and gaming. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. I think I saw the two as being really important to the adoption of decentralized applications among mainstream people.
No, fantastic. This story mirrors my story as well, with almost the same but different timeline, of course. But how you get in, because the philosophy and the idealism of especially what was presented to you and when in the Ethereum white paper, and when it hits you, I don't think that it's a binary state. Either you do nothing about it or you're all in. And it's fantastic to see someone else who had a similar sort of experience. But I think this is also the story of so many other people who get in primarily because of the philosophy. But I think somewhere along the way, this industry as well has turns out to be rather different than what we all hoped for. And I think we'll talk a bit more about that as well. But why don't we just dive in now and try and get all of our audience to kind of get a better understanding of what is HyperPlay. How did that idea start? What was the genesis? And what is it all about today? We know that it's in the Web3 gaming ecosystem. It's a Web3 game store, in fact. But I think it'd be great if we hear from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, well, so after joining the Ethereum ecosystem, I joined Consensus, which is a venture production studio that built a lot of the early Ethereum ecosystem. And I worked on a number of different projects at Consensus, but the largest of those was MetaMask. And so I was lead of operations for MetaMask. I worked a lot on the growth strategy, the monetization strategy, helping figure out, how do we create the most extensible and permissionless wallet. And so I worked on a lot of those types of problems. And one of the things that I saw is, right around the time that MetaMask famously hit 30 million monthly active users, I had seen that about half of those users had a gaming use case in their history of how they were using the wallet. And that was really compelling data to me, both because it meant that we were drawing more mainstream demographics of people. And a lot of the countries that people were coming from were countries that were historically locked out of traditional financial systems or legacy financial systems. And here they were playing video games and earning crypto through the process of doing so. And then going from there to DeFi, where they were leapfrogging the entire legacy financial system, becoming owners of the protocols that they used. To me, that was everything that I wanted to see in the world. Like it was so exciting. And at the same time, I looked at it and I looked at the user experience of where Web3 and gaming was at the time. And it was really, really bad. You got to be like really wanting to play these games, especially in 2020 or 2022. So I took a step back from that, and I started working on a concept for a MetaMask-based gaming protocol that would help the player interoperably carry their wallet between every game that they play. And at a certain point, I came to I came to the idea that this should be a whole company on its own, and it would be aligned with the MetaMask team. So I actually formed a new company, which was HyperPlay, and then incubated that inside of a DAO called Game 7 with the support of MetaMask. And we've been working really closely ever since. We're actually about to launch some really insane stuff together, an interplay between MetaMask and HyperPlay. I unfortunately can't leak the alpha today, but very, very, very soon you'll see some really cool stuff. Or maybe depending on the day this comes out, it'll have just launched. But, so we started working on that, and one of the things I realized was that there was basically what we call the wallet to game interaction problem. There was a range of different problems facing Web3 gaming. There was the wallet to game interaction problem, and that problem was basically that if you looked at all the Web3 games, there were 3 different wallet models. The first of those models was the developer could build a browser game, and the player could use their wallet in the browser game. But browser games have bad performance. A lot of players don't even see them as real games. So there were huge UX compromises happening. And then there were other games that were native games that had no transactions in them. And the transactional and Web3 components were pushed into a separate website. So the developer's not earning a lot of money because the players are not in the transactional part of the app. And then the players are annoyed because you're making them go to a separate website. And then the third type of thing we saw was there were games that had a proprietary wallet embedded within them. And that wallet couldn't be carried outside of the game. And so every time a player would play a new game, they were forced to onboard into another wallet. And the player is basically in this situation where they're getting dozens and then hundreds of wallets. Like, I have over 100 apps on my phone. If I wake up in 5 years and I have 100 wallets and all of my assets are spread across them, it's kind of a UX dystopia. So we wanted to solve that. And we asked, why is that user experience a problem? And part of it was technical. Like, there needed to be the technical ability to carry your wallet into all these apps. And so we started building the technical solution for that from the HyperPlay side. But then we also realized part of the problem is also the distribution channels. Apple, Steam, Google Play, even to a lesser extent, some of the more Web3 stores. Developers were spending more time trying to hack around their store policies than they were building the user experience of the game. Because those legacy platforms would deplatform you if you have in-game transactions that don't route through their APIs. And they have no reliable way to get fees out of smart contract interactions. These are decentralized protocols. That's not how it works. So I also realized that it wasn't just a problem of carrying your wallet into the game from a technical perspective. We needed new censorship-resistant distribution channels that were not going to destroy someone's livelihood and work of years because some monopoly can't extract enough fees out of people. So we built our application as an aggregator of multiple stores. So we have the whole Epic Game Store, which of the traditional legacy game stores is what we'll call it the least bad. It's the least likely to censor you, although that does happen. Like we see, for example, still like really heavy rules and fees that are imposed on game developers. We also support GOG, which is a classical game store that is fairly friendly to our industry as well. And we built our own store, the HyperPlay store, which was powered by IPFS, which is a decentralized file storage protocol. Even if our business ceased to exist, IPFS would continue to run and host these games. And so we wanted to rebuild the entire game distribution stack from the ground up, and then to do so in a way that profoundly improves the user experience for the player. It makes it easier to implement Web3 features for the game developer. And so we built a really different and new type of app.
No, fantastic. And it's been quite the journey, and it's great how well you've articulated it. And so essentially it started out by you discovering this insightful piece of data about usage and MetaMask. And then that went into like this whole journey where you started to kind of unravel the not only the more lower hanging fruit sort of like issues of user experience, but more in depth within the gaming space of the industry itself, and how they might you can't really just solve a technical problem with these people, because that's simply not it, because these people kind of guard their little walled garden quite almost violently in a sense. And it's fantastic to see that degree and depth of insight, where today in this industry where you might actually see a lot of people looking only to solve like a more superficial, like just a problem that just appeals to them technically. This is quite very useful insight to learn about the depths that you have to go to actually build something really really useful for the end user, especially in our space.
On that, I'll just mention, so I mentioned the MetaMask side of the data we looked at with the users. The DAO where we actually built HyperPlay Game 7, they did the game developer report. They've done 2 of them now. So they did one in 2022 and one in 2023. There's another one that's coming soon. But they interviewed, for the original one, it was over 100 different game developers and studios and infrastructure projects. And then the second one, it was even more than that. And so we took all of these rich insights of the actual problems that the game developers were having, and those really informed what we built as well. And we're super grateful to the Game 7 team for everything that they did to really listen to developers. You get a lot of UX research on the consumer side, but listening to the people who are the actual builders is something that is a little bit too rare in our industry, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, no, I think at this point, I think I would love if we could kind of gain further insights into what is seemingly like the secret sauce that you guys have worked on at HyperPlay, which is the interoperability. And I know there might be some stuff that you can't really talk about or don't want to really talk about because of where we are right now in time. But is there anything that you could lend so that people can start to understand that this is the gravity of what you achieved and this is what is now possible with you guys?
Yeah. So the way that our wallet solutions work, so when you install HyperPlay and you launch up the app, you'll have when you create an account, you have the ability to create a wallet at that time or delay it. And I'll talk a little bit about the delaying thing in a moment. But if you create a wallet or connect a wallet through HyperPlay, you can connect a MetaMask browser extension. So we detect if you have the MetaMask installed on your computer already, and you can connect to that existing MetaMask install with a single click. You can also choose a mobile wallet, so either MetaMask or we support Wallet Connect and over 40 other wallets through Wallet Connect. And so you would scan a QR code from your phone, and then when you're in game, we'll say like if you are using a mobile wallet, HyperPlay has an overlay very similar to the Steam overlay. People might be familiar with how Steam is adding chat windows, notifications, achievements on top of the game that you're playing. We're doing the same essentially, but we'll overlay a notification. You have a transaction pending on your mobile phone, hit approve on that on your phone. It's very similar to like when you buy a skin on Fortnite, pops up on your phone, you hit approve. But we also can overlay the browser extension. So if you chose the MetaMask browser extension, we will overlay that browser extension on top of the game, no matter whether that game is a native Windows game or a browser game. And a lot of people don't realize that, that it's actually possible to use the MetaMask extension inside of a native game. And so it'll pop up just like you would see in a legacy or in a regular browser context. If you chose to delay setting up a wallet, one of the things that we're rolling out is progressive onboarding. So let's say you don't have a wallet, you're playing a game, the game calls a transaction request from the HyperPlay API, and HyperPlay detects that you don't have a connected wallet. So we use our overlay to help you set up a new wallet directly within the context of the game itself at the point when you're trying to do some sort of a transaction. So this allows us to greatly delay the friction to onboarding people into Web3. We're also doing some other really cool stuff I'll announce soon as well. But we've got real focus on trying to improve everything to do with the user experience, and like we want to get to a place of account abstraction and auto transactions. So like we don't want to. There was a meme that came out yesterday. I don't know if people saw it, but there's a meme where like somebody's playing a game, and every time the player fires their gun, it like pops up with the MetaMask confirmation. Account abstraction is going to get us beyond that world, and that's something that we're doing some really great work on. Yeah, that's as much alpha as I'll leak right there. But that's the underlying thing there is that the same wallet that you set up in HyperPlay is carried between all the games. And that's the wallet that you probably use in DeFi and things outside of gaming as well. And what's so powerful about that is you have all of your assets in one place, your reputation is in one place. The value proposition of Web3, the greatest value proposition in my opinion is the interoperability, because you have all of these assets carried with you across the games, and those assets can be implemented by the game developers in whatever way that the game developer wants to implement them. So we want to see NFTs from one game being used in a different way and being represented in a different way that the game developer wants, or the player having a reputation that unlocks rewards and things like that. And so on the HyperPlay side, we're doing a lot to roll out reputation and testing and all kinds of things on that front, where you can use your reputation across all of the games. The other thing about this is that as a game developer, if you allow the user to bring their primary wallet into your game, those users are going to spend more money in your game. When you force the player to set up a new wallet for every game, the player might transfer like $10 into your game, because they don't know how easy is it going to be to get the assets out of this game's wallet. Are they going to be stuck there? Do I trust this game's wallet? Is it secure? And we really help solve that by allowing the player to carry all their assets into the game, and to create a really permissionless and interoperable game universe. I mean, that's what, back in the day when we said metaverse, that's what metaverse meant. It didn't mean some weird VR thing in Facebook. That's our vision.
No, fantastic. I think that's the point. The couple of points that really stood out for me there. One is obviously the way you're looking at going about achieving this sort of interoperability is just using overlays to kind of be allowing the users to stay in context without really hampering and just taking them out of context by taking them to a different tab and things like that. It's not what's happening. And this, I think, is down to perhaps the way you guys have managed to sort of integrate and work with the MetaMask browser extension, which I think just shows the sort of ingenuity you guys are capable of. I think that's one point that stood out. And I mean, the other one is just this, this sort of way of looking at how these apps are sort of going to evolve over a period of time, and you guys are already sort of getting ready for it with your plans for account abstraction. I know you probably don't want to talk too much more about because that's probably a rabbit hole you don't want people to know about yet. But it's very interesting to learn that this is at least on the agenda for you guys, and something that people can look forward to. Speaking of people who can look forward to this would primarily be developers of games, people who want to build within the space and want to build this almost sort of like interoperable sort of setting between where one game's assets are being used in another. And that's essentially what had been promised with me buying an NFT here, but it being really useful somewhere else, and me being able to sell it there, which is also what you are seemingly betting on. So where do you think we are in that cycle where we'll have, say, a couple of AAA games that actually will allow you to do this?
Yeah, I think so. The very first cycle of crypto gaming, like going way back, was 2017. It was CryptoKitties. It was a primitive game where you bred cats using a MetaMask wallet. Then we got the primitive play to earn games that were not particularly inspiring, in my opinion, but a lot of really basic websites for that wrapped some DeFi primitives and didn't have particularly sticky or long-term fun gameplay. But they proved out that Web3 gaming was a category, and they made a great contribution in that sense. So I think now we see almost every month the quality of content increases, and so we'll get more and more polished games, better games. I mean, last night we had a community game night playing Forgotten Playland. It's a very high quality, really beautiful game that has like deep Mario Party vibes. It's got all the different mini games as you go through, and like it plays like the level of game you'd find on Xbox or something. And I think that arc of better and better quality gameplay, more and more polished gameplay is compounding. I'm hesitant to like say a specific date when this is the day we'll have like the perfect AAA games, but it's gonna be a spiral, like where things get better and then there's cycles around those things, and then another wave of technical innovation happens, and then things spiral up again. And I think that, we are seeing a huge number of really great games though coming into the market, like Parallel, Shrapnel. I was checking out Bloodloop recently. It looks awesome. Nyan Heroes is really great. I mean, we're just seeing really good quality games come into the market, and I'm excited for that.
Got it. No, wonderful. So moving on very quickly, I wanted to also, before we enter like the last segment of the podcast here right now, game developers, how can they sort of like work with HyperPlay to be able to kind of launch their game? What's their sort of experience? Can you shed any light on that? And so that we have a lot of people who actually are developing games or want to develop games. It'll be very useful for them to kind of understand.
Yeah, so it's super easy to work with HyperPlay. So the first part of that process, if you come to our site, hyperplay.xyz, there's a listing form to start the process. And then we'll have one of the members of our community reach out to you, help you with getting set up with building with HyperPlay. We find that a lot of products in Web3 are really difficult to use. They require incorporating this or that SDK, all kinds of things like that. We don't do that. We want to be the most developer loyal game distribution platform. We have APIs that you can call, but it's not required to call those APIs to be in HyperPlay. We don't force you. Like, we do have SDKs that make it easier to build with us, but it's not required to put those SDKs in your game. You can call our APIs without ever using an SDK. And for most developers, the process of building with HyperPlay and listing in HyperPlay, like, you can fill out the listing form and get your game build into HyperPlay in about 30 minutes. Using our wallet features is basically identical to implementing MetaMask on a website. So it's a very easy process, and we pride ourselves on having the best developer experience of any of the platforms out there. And we give direct developer support. We're really happy to help people build. There's also rewards coming for developers who adopt the platform more. Get in touch with us if you want to hear more about what that means. And yeah.
No, fantastic. And what would be like the website that these devs can go to get started?
Yeah, so hyperplay.xyz is our site. You can both download the app there and you can start the listing process there. You'll also find a link in the top for docs. So our developer docs are there, and you can see like how to call the wallet or how to do those things. We support every EVM chain and a number of non-EVM chains as well. You can find everything there, including Arcana. And yeah.
Got it. Fantastic. One last question before we dive into our rapid fire. This is something we do with every one of our guests. The last question is basically centered around this one new sort of thing that has really seems to have captured the imagination, especially at our end. It's something that we're building towards and really, really excited about, and that's chain abstraction. The sort of almost like the pinnacle of user experience achievement within the Web3 space is being able to hide this notion of blockchains and where your funds are, and allowing to use any sort of like application within the Web3 space. I just wanted to get your thoughts, if any, on chain abstraction and what do you think it means to you or your industry?
Yeah, I think it's critical. I think that today the process, like if you play any of the best games that are in Web3, like games like Shrapnel or Pirate Nation, those games have dedicated game chains. And today the user experience is on ramp and buy some crypto, bridge that crypto to another chain, swap to the game's token. I mean, these are a lot of steps for a user. You have to really be determined to play a lot of these games today. And we're getting to a place of intents where the user in a single action can do all three of those things bundled together and do it in a way that's more agnostic to the chain that the player's on. I do think there will always be some sense of what chain is the asset on, because not every chain has the same level of security as every other chain. There are chains that are quite safe and chains that are not so safe. So the users have to have some sense of that, but we have to get much closer, as close as we possibly can to a chain abstracted future as a part of what people are doing. And so I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and would encourage people to check you out.
Fantastic. No, thank you so much, Jacob, for all of these insights. I'm sure many people will find it invaluable, just like I did. All right, so now we are into the last segment of the podcast, which is the rapid fire. I basically will ask you 5 questions. I need one word or short phrase answers where you're not really thinking about it too much in depth. Just top of the mind, whatever comes to you. I will allow you one skip out of the 5, so you can choose any question. You can skip one of them, and we'll no questions asked. We'll just move forward to the next one. Don't worry, this is still light. I'm not going to put you on the spot in any weird way. So if you're ready to go, let's do this.
Let's do it. I'm all in.
Great. So first question: what is your one piece of advice to devs that they should hold dearest to them?
Sorry, the one piece of advice. Say that again.
One piece of advice to developers in the Web3 space that they should hold dearest to them.
Focus on real. I guess I'm breaking your rules. This is a deep question. It's not a. I guess I think it's critical to focus on real Web3 utility, not gimmicks, and not like I'm skeptical of Web 2.5. I guess I'm breaking all the rules, but I'll shut up.
No, great answer. Who from your cap table is your favorite investor?
I have to skip that. I'm not going to get in trouble.
Okay, all right. Who in the Web3 space has the best community?
I think that I'm actually a huge fan of the DeFi Kingdoms community. It's one of the longest running communities. It has a huge number of people that have their own guilds within it. If you join their Discord, you'll just find people who are looking out for each other and helping each other and supporting each other. It's a very welcoming community. It's pretty degen, but like that's fine. It's a real long-standing substantive community of people that go beyond the like win token BS. So
understood. And what is that one standout game that's out there or about to come out there that you're going to bet will absolutely capture everyone's imagination?
I'm probably the most excited from a gameplay perspective about Shrapnel. I think that it is a very polished game that is doing really interesting things with blockchain primitives, and I just couldn't be more impressed with the team.
Fantastic. And last question, what is your prediction for Bitcoin all-time high price this cycle?
I already used my skip. I typically refuse to do these. I think that I think the growth of Bitcoin will be less than other assets where there is greater innovation happening. I can't predict a specific price, but I can tell you that like I'm most bullish where real innovation is happening. I'm very excited that Bitcoin is innovating again and that ordinals and runes and all those types of things are happening. I was an old school Bitcoiner, and the 2017 to 2022 period was pretty difficult for me.
All right, great. We're going to let you get away with that. We wouldn't have held you to any sort of number, obviously, but all the same, I think that was still, a well-articulated answer, much like all of this podcast. So it's been a real pleasure speaking with you, Jacob, and having you here today. Would love to have you back, perhaps once you've released all of those wonderful features that you've been teasing, and really look forward to that opportunity soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mayur. I absolutely love talking to you, and this is so fun.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much, Jacob.